Baris Baktaş, who recently said, "I wake up thankful because of my family," filled the air with warmth as he spoke about Yagmar Yüksel, and the sincerity of his words caught everyone off guard in the best possible way. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Turkish series stars. I've missed you, and I'm thrilled to be here with a brand new video that promises to tug at your heartstrings. Today we're diving into a story that will make you smile, sigh, and perhaps whisper to yourself, "So this is what a real family man looks like." Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe, drop a like, and leave your thoughts below, because sharing moments like these, soft, real, and yes, deliciously gossipy, makes this channel feel like home. If you're ready, let's take a close look at how fatherhood reshaped the world of Baris Baktaş, how his marriage with Yagmar Yüksel evolved into something even stronger, and how their daughter, little Can Asya, became the quiet miracle that changed everything. Let's begin with what he said in that last interview, the line that stopped people mid-scroll. He spoke about waking each day with gratitude, not as a polished celebrity soundbite, but as a man humbled by a new kind of love. He described the way a tiny hand can steady your whole life, how a small voice can change the way you hear your own, and tucked in those thoughts was a confession: he never expected fatherhood to be this powerful. Fans know him as the intense lead, the quiet storm on set, the man who looks like he can shoulder the world without breaking a sweat. But away from the glare, there's the new rhythm of a dad who bends willingly, gladly, when a pair of bright eyes searches for him. That's the paradox his audience is learning to adore, the cool exterior from the screen and the unguarded softness he now carries at home. Ever since 2022, when their daughter, Can Asya, arrived, the world inside their home has tilted towards something gentler. Friends say that before then, Baris was the kind of person who could go with the flow, picking projects by instinct, traveling at odd hours, pretending schedules were optional. Those who know him now laugh and say he keeps a calendar in his head that runs on bedtime routines and tiny milestones. He hinted at it himself. He used to dislike making plans, but suddenly he finds himself mapping the next step, and the one after that, with a sense of care he never had to wield for his own sake. He's still the same man, but fatherhood polished the edges, shifted the priorities, and planted in him the kind of patience that only grows in the presence of a child. And what about the marriage that people love to whisper about? You've seen the headlines swirl: "They're on the rocks, it's over, distance, crisis, trouble." The usual chorus, chiming in whenever a couple slips out of sight to live privately for a while. Yet each time the rumor mill spins, Baris and Yagmar re-emerge in a glow that quiets the noise. They walk into a room and you understand, their bond isn't the flimsy kind that crumbles under the weight of speculation. Are they alike? Not at all. Maybe that's part of the magic. She's a fresh breeze, sunny, quick to laugh, a woman who carries color with her. He's the calm current, measured and serene, listening twice before speaking once. What looks like contrast from the outside is, up close, a perfect balance. He spoke of her with such tenderness, admitting that the peace he's found in fatherhood is anchored by the woman beside him. It wasn't grandstanding, it felt like confession, the gentle sort. Gratitude, spoken plainly, has a way of sounding undeniable. Those claims of impending separation? They fall apart in the face of genuine affection. The truth is simple. He's not someone who chases the spotlight off-screen. He avoids noisy declarations, and that silence gives gossip room to grow. But when he does speak, he sounds like a man who has done the internal work. He doesn't reach for rehearsed lines. He reaches for real ones. It's why people believe him. And it's why, for Yagmar, there's nothing to prove. Their private language exists quietly between them, in glimpses caught by those who know where to look. Fatherhood brings joy, yes, and he says that openly. But he also admits it carries a responsibility that changes the lens through which you see the world. He hinted at the way risk looks different now, how choices feel heavier, not in a burdened way, but in a respectful one. He used to leap first, figure out the landing later. Now he surveys, considers, and circles back. The paycheck, the prestige, the buzz, none of it competes with a child's laugh at breakfast. When fans noticed that he took a step back after his last project, concerns flared. Was it trouble? Was something wrong? But the quiet was calculated. He wanted to be there. He wanted to witness first words tumbling into first sentences, the first unsure steps transforming into a fearless run down the hall. He knew the industry would wait, this season at home would not. Even his silence had a message embedded inside. I'm with my family, and I intend to be. None of this happened in isolation. There's a reason the house feels anchored, why the pace of life seems calmer despite the glare of fame. That reason wears joy naturally and holds a fierce kind of strength in private. Yagmar. People who have watched them grow together say she doesn't try to reshape him. She peels back what's already there, gently. Her humor lightens the mood when tension rises, but her steadiness is what changes the day. In the stories friends tell, she's the one placing a hand on his shoulder right before a tough choice, reminding him that their center is secure. She took time to be close to their daughter after the birth, stepping away when she needed to, and in that pause there was no drama. Only intention. Meanwhile, he said no to work that would have pulled him far from home. They made sacrifices that don't look flashy on social media, but they're the choices that keep a family intact. And you should have seen the ripple after that interview landed. The comments came fast. People wrote about feeling moved by his words, about recognizing a version of fatherhood that doesn't shout or posture. Some said this is what they want to see more of from men, gentleness without apology, devotion without spectacle. Others noted how rare it is to find a public figure who neither shows off nor hides, but simply tells the truth. It's the equilibrium fans crave. The audience that once loved him for his stoic characters now finds itself protective of the man who wipes applesauce off his shirt and laughs about it. Let's talk about the little star at the center of this transformed universe. They chose her name with care. Jan means soul, while Asya holds the spirit of the East. Put together, you hear a whisper of something both intimate and wide as the horizon, the life of my life, the heart of a vast map. Her father is particular about what he shares, and that's not about mystery, it's about safeguarding a space where she can be a child, where curiosity isn't warped by cameras. Even so, life leaks its lovely moments into public view. Last summer, in Bodrum, a few shots caught him walking the shore with her snug against his chest. You could read a whole book in his eyes in that moment, quiet pride, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. These tiny glimpses don't give us details, they give us something better, proof of a simple happiness that doesn't depend on applause. Behind closed doors, fatherhood has reshaped him into someone more attuned, more tender with time. People always thought of him as self-contained, a man with a natural reserve. Lately he carries a new softness into interviews, a smile that appears without being asked for, like sunlight slipping under a curtain. When he talks about the future, it isn't the old language of ambition and hustle. It's steadier now. He talks about creating a home that feels like shelter, about keeping the noise outside. He talks about loving his wife with more intention than before, about treating the hours at the dinner table as non-negotiable. The man who once moved through work with a kind of quiet intensity now keeps that same intensity for bedtime stories and bath time. And here's the beautiful twist, he doesn't seem smaller for it. He seems larger, like he's finally living in the center of his own life. He didn't say it as a slogan, but you could hear it in the cadence of his voice. No achievement, no rating, no triumph on set can rival the simple high of being called Baba in the hallway. This isn't about turning his back on his career, it's about returning to it with a steadier compass. He'll choose roles that fit the life he's building rather than require him to run from it. He'll measure success differently. Not by how loud the applause is, but by how calm the house feels when he gets home. And in all of this, there's the constant presence of Yagmar. She sees him for who he is under the layers of expectation, and because of that, he has room to breathe. Their differences, which would throw some couples into a tug-of-war, became the hinge that keeps their door open and their home grounded. She doesn't shy away from being the bright one, he doesn't force himself to be louder than he is. Together they make a language that feels effortless, a look across a room that says, "I've got you." The freedom to let each other be is the secret that glues their story together. If you ask people close to them what changed most, they'll say this: the rhythm. Once upon a time, the metronome of their days was set by call sheets, script meetings, and travel. Now it ticks to the tempo of a crib mobile, a stroller stroll, a nap that lasts just long enough for an adult conversation over coffee. Parenthood hasn't shrunk their world. It has redirected it, pulled their attention toward what holds meaning, and dimmed the volume on everything that used to masquerade as urgent. And the audience? They're not confused by this pivot. They're grateful. They want their stars to be human, to feel, to change, to admit that love rearranges things. They've watched plenty of couples collapse under pressure. They've watched others overshare until nothing feels real. This is different. This is measured, honest, tender without being performative. It's the picture of two people who know fame is fleeting but family can be made to last if you protect it. So here we are at the heart of it. The transformation we see in Baris isn't a personality swap. It's an unfolding. He didn't abandon the steady, thoughtful man he was, he expanded him. He didn't lose his edge, he found a new purpose for it. And in embracing that, he became more himself than ever, quieter and surer, serious and soft, strong in the way that matters at home, where no cameras roll. As for the skeptics, they'll always have something to say. But the story their life tells right now is not for the skeptics. It's for that little girl learning to speak, for the woman who holds the family center, and for a man whose gratitude has become his guiding light. Tell me, doesn't that sound like the plot twist we didn't know we needed? A real-life arc that doesn't depend on scandal, but on growth. A romance that deepens not because of drama, but because two people chose each other in the quiet moments. And a father who understands that the truest kind of success is measured not by charts, but by the small hand that reaches for his at dawn. Friends, we've spent today walking through the most tender corners of this story. Fatherhood, partnership, and the delicate holiness of family. Fame, success, money, they make noise. But the best parts of life whisper. Have you felt this change in him, too? Do you think this shift made him stronger, or simply brought his softness into the light? I want to read everything you think. Share your thoughts in the comments, and if this touched you, give it a like and send it to someone who needs a smile. Make sure you're subscribed to Turkish series stars so you don't miss what's coming next. I'll be back soon with more stories that glow from the inside out, more chapters from this world we love to follow. Until then, take care, keep your heart open, and remember, real brilliance begins at home. See you in the next Turkish series stars video, and goodbye for now.